Presume that there is a piece of paper that changes hands when the money is exchanged.
I think probably a lot of people hearing you talk about this, they can understand your frustration, but on the other hand, to say that, to speak out against unions can be considered by some to be almost un-American.
It's not un-American. Remember that not all of America is unionized. The vast majority of Americans are not unionized.
But if there were no unions, like you said, maybe in the beginning they needed the unions, but now they've evolved into something else. But if the unions were taken away, maybe it would return to the way it was in the beginning, and you would have children working in sweatshops again.
I would not suggest that at all. What I'm saying is that honesty is the best policy. And honesty in all forms of American business is totally down the tubes right now. It's at its lowest ebb in history.
How do you get it back?
Well, first of all, you have to create a desire for it to be there. And when you have political leaders who do not demonstrate honesty, when you have people lying to you constantly on television, on the radio, in the movies, it's all a lie, and everybody just gets used to the lie as a way of life, then honesty as a concept is very outmoded and archaic, and nobody wants to be an honest guy anymore, because if you're honest, then you're going to finish last. You know, the good guy's finishing last. And this is bad. I just think that it's disgusting. I'm 40 years old. I remember when there used to be a little honesty around.
Don't you think there still is? I mean, don't you think?
Not enough
don't
to be
you
dangerous.
consider yourself an honest person?
Yeah, but I'm not in a position where I can do anything to influence anybody.
And don't you think there are honest people who are in some of those other areas? You mentioned politics, you mentioned movies, you mentioned television, the media.
There's always exceptions to the rule, but I would say, and without batting an eye, that the rule today is dishonesty is the rule and honesty is the exception.
See, I would hate to believe that.
You can hate to believe it, but if you don't believe it, you're a fool.
You think so? I think, yes, in every instance that you have mentioned, in every area, I think that there are a few people who perhaps are not totally honest, or who perhaps are not honest at all, who are dishonest. I don't think that's the norm, though. I mean,
if you're talking strictly about quantity of people being honest versus quantity of people being dishonest, maybe you could come up with a statistic balance that would show that maybe 51 or 52% of the people are honest and 48 are shady. But the few that really control things are not honest, and they count for more votes than the extra ones who might be honest. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, but who would those people be?
I don't think we have an honest president. I don't think that he is surrounded by honest people. I don't think that most of the people in Congress or in the Senate are honest. I don't believe that they are honest people.
And why do you say that? What makes you believe that?
I think the proof of that is the way the country operates. I don't think that most of the people who head up businesses are honest.
See, I would hate to feel that negative. I mean, I realize that unless you open your eyes to a situation as it really is, you can't do anything about changing it. But I would hate to be that negative, that pessimistic about the shape of this country and the shape of the people in this country.
You would hate to be that negative and be right.
Yeah.
That's what would really be horrible. Now, if you could be that negative and somebody would suddenly just come up with all the proof and say, it's really okay, you're just a negative kind of a person. You know, that would be like a cute little dream for a minute there. But I believe that I'm right. I believe they are dishonest. I believe we have allowed them to be the way that they are. We have voted them in. We got them in there, and we're letting them do it because we're not honest enough to face up to the fact that we are owned and operated by a bunch of really bad people.
All right, then let's just say that what you're saying is true. I don't totally agree with it, but let's say it is true.
That's all right, because you're a nice person, so you don't.
All right, thank you. My mother thanks you. Let's say it is true.
Okay.
What do honest people do to change it?
I don't know whether they can. That's what really sounds pessimistic.
Yes, it does.
I don't know.
Fatalistic, almost.
No, it's not fatalistic. I mean, you can try, but I don't know whether or not the effort will yield results.
What do you do? I mean, if you are feeling all of these things, how are you able to get out of bed the next day if you are feeling that things are this bad in this country?
Well, I do what I do because I love to do it. I'm dedicated to music, and I get up and I do my music. and I do it my way, and I try not to compromise. And if I get a chance to go on television and say this, then I do that too.
Yes.
And other than that, what else can I do? You know? I'm not about to march around the street with a sign in my hand. That doesn't do anything. But you can remind people that something's wrong, because the tendency today is to just gloss over it. You know, the desire for escapist activities is really at quite a peak now. And media likes to accommodate that desire. And the more you can escape from how horrible things really are, the less it's going to bother you, and then the worse things get.
We have to break away for just a moment, or things will get pretty bad around here.
I know that.
Yes, we have to have a few commercials. We'll do that. We'll come back and we'll continue this conversation with Frank Zappa. Stay with us. Welcome back. My guest this evening is Frank Zappa. He has been called outspoken. It has been said that his music shows biting social commentary. And I think even in the first segment already, I've been able to realize that you have definite feelings, strong feelings about things, and you want people to know how you feel about them, and you want them to take you seriously.
Well, it's not that critical that they take me seriously, it's just so they don't ignore it completely. You know, just think about it for a minute.
Have you ever found yourself in trouble because of, I know one time there was a lawsuit that was lodged against you because of the words in one of your songs. How often has that happened?
There's never been a lawsuit lodged against me because of the words in any of my songs.
But what, didn't the Jewish Defamation League?
The Anti-Defamation League, which is a PR organization, made a bunch of noise in the newspapers and elsewhere.
About a libel suit?
There never was any libel suit. There was none. It was pure nothing. It was just a bunch of noise. There was no legal action.
And over what song did that occur?
A song called Jewish Princess.
What did they object to?
I don't understand what they objected to, because first of all, the song is journalistic. It reports the existence of a phenomenon called a Jewish princess, which I think is fairly reasonable to do since they do exist. And in the song it tells what are the characteristics that makes a person a Jewish princess. And that's all the song set out to do. And it says in the song that I want one. It wasn't negative, and I don't know what their complaint was, but I'm sure they do. It just baffles me. They accuse me of being anti-Semitic, which is something that always helps them get coverage in the newspaper. They can scream that so-and-so is anti-Semitic, and they get some, you know, X paragraphs. I'm not, and they're wrong, and that was 2 years ago.
Does it bother you when people object to some of your songs? To what points that you're trying to get
let me
across?
tell you the kinds of objections that occur and the types of people who object. You know, we've already listed the ADL. That was an organized, mechanized kind of objection. You know, phone calls, letter writing, pressure campaign, that kind of stuff, and it was a media-oriented event. Sometimes a radio station will get one phone call from one person someplace, one time, who hears one word in one of my songs that manages to get on the radio and screams they're going to the FCC. Instead of the radio station thinking about how many people who were listening to that station at the time love the song, want to hear it again, and will support the station for playing it, because one person called up and said, I'm going to do this, the guy who owns the station panics out and takes my record off the air. That's what I object to. Because the people who are in favor of having me played on the air and like to hear what I do, they never call up and say, yeah, that's great that you're playing Zappa on the air.
When people feel strongly about something, usually when people feel strongly about something in a negative way, they're more apt to write or call.
Right, but see, if the station, who is only interested in making money, only hears negative things, then their only response is going to be to avoid confrontation with this particular force in the community, even if it's a crotchety little old lady sitting around someplace who doesn't want to hear the word brassiere in a song.
But how often have you taken something that you like for granted? I mean, when you take it for granted, it's there, you like it, but how many times have you called up a television station or written to a film company and said, I really like this is good stuff?